Growing up is hard. We've known this since at least 2013, according to the historical record. But before the adulting memes, how did people cope with the uncomfortable truth that we must all leave the safety and freedom of childhood for the crushing expectations and overwhelming responsibilities of adulthood? That would be the time-old tradition of the coming-of-age story. For some, this looks like Stand By Me or To Kill a Mockingbird, but today we are talking about a more unusual form of the coming-of-age structure, the Cinderella story. That's right, even here in the Cinderverse, children must grow up. The girl must become a woman, and sometimes that means she has to avoid being eaten by Baba Yaga.
Baba Yaga, the witch. They tell stories to children to frighten them.
Welcome to the Cinderverse, where I summarize, humorize, and overanalyze versions of the Cinderella story from around the world. Today we are discussing the Russian telling of Cinderella titled The Beautiful Vasilisa, sometimes Wasilisa, don't ask me to spell it, much like Aladdin, it looks wrong every time I try. This story was collected and published by Russian archivist and librarian Alexander Afanasyev, along with 599 other Russian fairy tales between 1855 and 1863, very much like the work the Grimms were doing for German folklore around the same time. But before we jump into this beautifully illustrated summary, allow me to introduce some key members of our cast. We have the core leads, which we would expect. Vasilisa being our titular character, her father, and his second wife, complete with her two mean girl daughters. Next we have the magical helper, which in this version happens to be a doll. Now when I say Russian doll, you're probably thinking of something like this, the classic matryoshka or nesting doll. But the nesting doll didn't become an iconic form of Russian folk art until the late 1800s, after this story was collected. So was this caveat just an excuse to show off my nesting doll collection? What? No. Okay, maybe. Because really, the doll in this story is likely a rag doll, which historically has served as an amulet or talisman doll in Slavic cultures, including Russia and Ukraine. Don't worry, I will be nerding out about this later, but for now, just know this is a handmade fabric doll filled with symbolism and folk tradition. Then, of course, we have the real draw of this summer blockbuster.
Who's that Pokemon? It's Baba Yaga!
This is my official pitch to make a Pokemon based on Baba Yaga. Tell me that wouldn't be amazing.
You know Baba Yaga?
Now, if you don't know, Baba Yaga is a character from Slavic folklore that looms large in the world of fairy tales, and she contains multitudes. Sometimes she's a witch, sometimes a fairy, sometimes she has sisters, sometimes she has daughters. Basically, always, she likes to eat people. Sometimes she is depicted as an unknowable goddess of the forest. Sometimes she is the dispenser of justice. And most of her stories fall under the category of, it was written down in the 1800s, but it's been bubbling in the oral tradition for who knows how long. All this to say, she is a fun character to read about because you never know what you're gonna get. Despite the variations, there are three things that put the Yaga in the Baba. She lives in a house on chicken legs. She rides in a mortar and pestle, which she may or may not also use to grind up human bones, and everyone is scared of her, at least at first. So, with our cast thoroughly introduced, let's begin the tale of the beautiful Vasilisa. Once upon a fairy tale time, a merchant and his wife have only one daughter, little Vasilisa. Knock knock, who's there? Interrupting dead mom trope. Interrupting dead mom trope. Oops, the mom is dying. But before she does, she gives Vasilisa a present. My darling Vasilisa, here is my gift to you, a very special doll. And if you feed it, it will give you advice and help you when you need it. Oh, okay. I can feed it. Does it have any, dietary restrictions? Oh, no, it'll eat anything, really. Oh, except shrimp. It doesn't like shrimp. It's a texture thing. Vasilisa! If you are ever in trouble, turn to this doll as you would turn to me. I love you. Bleh. And she dies. After the appropriate time of mourning, it's time for the father to pick a new wife. All right, trot out the ladies. Let's take a look-see. Hate your hair, not likely. Yikes, yikes, yikes. And let me guess, you have two daughters about the same age as my own and will be a terrible stepmother. You're perfect! Immediately on seeing Vasilisa, the stepmother and daughters know they need to take this girl down a peg and make sure she does not live up to the current beauty standards. They force her to do all the housework and outdoor labor with no sunscreen, hoping she will turn out skinny and sunburned. Thankfully, Vasilisa has the ultimate self-care routine. It's the doll. The doll does all her chores for her. Every night, Vasilisa has a sad little tea party with her doll where she feeds her and tells her all her woes living with her stepfamily. Every day, Vasilisa's doll completes all her chores, letting Vasilisa sit under a tree and pick flowers all day. And every day, Vasilisa grows prettier and plumper. Of course, with Vasilisa looking so pretty and plump, many a suitor come to call on her.
Beautiful Vasilisa, might I have the honor of asking for your hand?
No one will be marrying my stepdaughter until my own daughters are married. Aren't they so pretty and lovely and nice? Here they are, aren't they lovely? Oh, so as if it wasn't bad enough that Vasilisa has no immediate opportunities to get away from her stepfamily, but her father has just announced he's going on a business trip. And of course, this is exactly the opportunity that the stepmother was looking for to get rid of beautiful Vasilisa. Girls, I think it's time for us to spend some quality time together, out of the house for a bit. I found this adorable little verbo. It's right on the edge of the deep, dark forest, nice and isolated, perfect for a girls' trip. Okay, but why do we need to be so close to the woods? Oh, you'll love being right next to the forest. It's the perfect place to go and lose yourself. Okay, I don't love how much it's giving Hansel and Gretel, especially since aren't those the woods where baby deer run around free and nothing bad ever happens and it's time to go? So, Vasilisa moves with her stepfamily to the very edge of the deep, dark forest. A forest which stands dark and foreboding, as if waiting for its next permanent resident. Everyone knows this forest, everyone fears this forest. For deep in the darkness and the shade of the trees, in a glade, stands a hut on 2 chicken legs, surrounded by human bones, serving as garden decoration for the terrifying occupant. This is the home of Baba Yaga, witch of the wood, who allows none to approach her home and will eat you like a chicken if given the chance. And so begins the stepmother's aggressive campaign to get Vasilisa eaten by the Baba Yaga. Vote today! JK, there is no voting. This is more of like a dictatorship situation. Every chance they get, the stepmother and stepsister send Vasilisa out into the woods, hoping she will never return. And yet, without fail, Vasilisa shows up home again safe and sound. What they don't realize is that Vasilisa's doll is GPS enabled.
In 132 feet, take a right at the fallen tree. Then continue straight until the elder bush.
No matter what they do, Vasilisa shows up at home safe and sound. With the subtle approach foiled, the stepmother turns to a more direct tactic. But she's gonna need some clear instructions for her daughters. Ooh, maybe even some stage direction. Allow me to set the scene. Our curtain opens on a dark stage lit by a single candle. Vasilisa and her stepsisters have been left with chores they must complete before bed, but they are all struggling to complete them by the light of the single candle.
Sisters, here we are doing our chores, which our mother has charged us with. I am to braid this lace. Yes, and I must knit these stockings. Yeah, I was told to spin the thread. Why are you talking like that? What's going on? We must be careful not to put out the light. Oh no, sisters, it seems the candle has begun to smoke. I will trim the wick. Oh no, sister, it seems you have accidentally put out the light. Yeah, definitely an accident. That was like the one thing you weren't supposed to do. What are we to do now? There is no light at all, and our chores are not yet finished. I know, sister. One of us must run to Baba Yaga for a light. What? Baba Yaga? We don't have like a match or something? I have enough light from the little pins. I shall not go. I'm sorry, did you say your pins are giving you light? And don't we have neighbors? Nor shall I go. I have enough light from my needles. I mean, I know you can knit without looking, but it's not like the needles give you light.
You must go for a light, Vasilisa.
But there's
Go to Baba Yaga.
Okay. I get it. Just let me run to my room real quick.
Vasilisa runs to her doll and feeds her and tells her her predicament. But the doll assures her that as long as Vasilisa keeps the doll with her, she will be safe. So let's go meet Baba Yaga! Vasilisa is wandering through the forest all night. Then at dawn, a white horseman on a white horse rides past her through the forest. Then as the sun rises, a red horseman on a red horse rides by. Finally, just before nightfall, Vasilisa comes upon a glade. And suddenly, a black horseman on a black horse rides by her and disappears into thin air, just as Vasilisa comes into the presence of... That's chicken legs on a house, baby! Vasilisa is frozen in fear as she takes in the disturbing mobile home and surrounding garden that would put Spirit Halloween to shame. Then, all at once, the trees begin to creak and the leaves rustle. A shrill laugh breaks the air, and who should pull up but Baba Yaga herself, riding in a mortar, steering with a pestle, and sweeping away her trail with a broom. Baba Yaga lands in front of the frightened Vasilisa.
Foo-foo.
Okay, I would have gone for something a little scarier, but whatever floats your goat.
Foo-foo, who dares to come visit me this night?
Hi, it's, me. I'm Vasilisa. My stepsister sent me to you for a light.
Ah, yes, little Vasilisa. I know your stepsisters.
What? How do you...
I will give you the light, but first you must stay with me a while and do some simple housework.
Housework?
Or I could just eat you.
Oh, you said housework. Oh, I love housework. It's my absolute favorite. Yes, of course.
Good. First come inside and I'll have you for dinner. Oh, sorry, Freudian slip. You will make me dinner. Let's go.
The inside of the house is surprisingly cozy, and Baba Yaga's first instructions is to light the fire with one of the skull torches from the garden. Next, Vasilisa is told to bring the dinner up from the cellar. And I don't even want to know where the cellar is on a house with chicken legs, so I'm not going to ask, and neither should you. Even though there's enough food to feed 10 people, Yogi Bear over here is able to eat it all, leaving just a few scraps for Vasilisa.
That was delicious. Now, girl, tomorrow you will clean the yard, sweep the hut, do the laundry, husk the wheat, and don't forget to make dinner. It better all be perfect or I will find you and I will eat you. I'm going to bed now. Good night, my little chicken nugget. I hope you sleep well. We've got a lot of work to do tomorrow.
It doesn't take long for Vasilisa to fall into despair, but then she remembers her emotional support doll. She feeds the doll while she trauma dumps.
And then she says she's gonna eat me.
Despite Vasilisa's tears, her doll is very comforting. Vasilisa, don't be scared. Now, eat your dinner, say your prayers, and go to sleep. The morning is wiser than the evening. Vasilisa feels much better, and does as she's told. It's morning again, and after Vasilisa sees the white and red horsemen ride by, good old Baby Yoda flies away in her mortar. Vasilisa only has time to review the chore list when she looks up to see that the doll has completed every task and is just finishing husking the wheat.
My dear doll, thank you so much. Yeah, I had a pretty productive morning. Oh, I will say I didn't get to cooking dinner, so I'll leave that one to you.
But that's easy for Vasilisa, and she has the food ready and waiting just in time for the Black Rider to pass the house and once again disappear into the forest. And look, here comes Baba Yaga, come to check Vasilisa's work. Despite inspecting every inch of that hut, Baba Yaga can't find anything to be angry about. Naturally, this makes her very angry. But she counts to 10 and tells Vasilisa,
It will do. Now, you want to see something cool? Oh, my faithful servants, my friends, come grind the wheat.
The next moment, all Vasilisa can see are 3 pairs of hands appearing and taking away the wheat that her doll had husked earlier, presumably to be ground into flour.
But if you had invisible servants, why did I have
Be quiet, Vasilisa. I'm eating my dinner.
After Yo Gabba Gabba's 10-serving meal, it's time for her to give Vasilisa some further instructions.
Vasilisa, tomorrow you will do all the things you did today, in addition to which, might I draw your attention to my poppy seed bin? As you can see, someone has mixed dirt into my poppy seed bin. I didn't do it, it just appeared. Tomorrow you will clean every individual poppy seed in my poppy seed bin. Now I'm going to bed. Night-night, Chicky Nuggy.
Vasilisa knows the deal by now, so instead of falling once again into despair, she feeds her doll and waits for it to speak. The doll gives her the same instructions as the day before. Eat your food, say your prayers, and go to sleep. The morning is wiser than the evening. The next day, Vasilisa and the doll get to work just as soon as Barbenheimer disappears into the forest in her mortar. Then, in the evening when she returns, all is done exactly to her instructions.
It will do, I suppose.
Frustrated that she's been cheated once again out of her chicken Vasilisa dinner, Baba Yaga calls upon her servants to take away the poppy seeds to press into oil. As Baba Yaga sits to eat her dinner, she notices Vasilisa awkwardly standing, watching over her shoulder.
You look like you want to ask me a question.
I didn't want to bother you or anything.
Good. Then I'm just gonna...
But now that you bring it up, I do have one question.
You may ask one question, but you should know that there are such things as stupid questions, and if you know too much, you will grow old.
Wow, then you must know a lot.
It's a wisdom thing. Do you want me to eat you?
No. Sorry. My question is about the 3 riders that I've seen in the woods. Maybe the lore is just too deep for me, but I just...
All right, let me break it down. So, the white horseman is my bright day. His passing marks the breaking dawn. The red horseman is my sun. S-U-N, my giblet, not S-O-N. I don't have any children. I eat children. Anyway, the black horseman, he is my vengeance. He is the night, my dark night. N-I-G-H-T, not K-N-I-G-H-T. He also does some chores for me because, of course, these 3 are also my faithful servants. No follow-up questions?
Oh, no, I'm good. I wouldn't want to get old.
Well, my dear, I have a question for you.
Sure, ask away. I don't think it's possible for you to get any older.
What?
Nothing.
How is it that you can complete all the practically impossible tasks I give you before I get home?
Now, the story doesn't say that Vasilisa is trying to hide the doll from Baba Yaga, but as you will see, it seems she is picking her words rather carefully. Let's watch on.
Oh, the blessing of my mother helps me.
Blessing? A blessed daughter? A mother's blessing? Worse, a dead mother's blessing? Get out of my house! Now! Here, take this skull with fire in it. It's what you came for. Now get out! A blessed child! I don't need a blessed child! Blessed by her mother! I can't believe it!
Much bewildered, but no doubt relieved to be safely away from Baba Yaga, Vasilisa ventures back into the woods.
Did you know she would freak out like that? No clue. Otherwise, I would have told you to hold me up in front of her like a crucifix in front of a vampire. Ah, well, the more you know.
It takes a whole day for Vasilisa to finally arrive home. She thinks about throwing the skull flashlight away since she's sure they must have light in the house by now, but the skull stops her.
Whoa, I'm a present for your step-family, aren't I? Take me inside with you, I want to meet the family.
So, Vasilisa carries the skull torch into the house and is greeted by her step-family, who are surprisingly warm and welcoming.
Vasilisa, thank goodness we've had no light since you left. We couldn't strike a single spark ourselves, and even the lights brought in from a neighbor went out in the house. But what's this? Oh, you sweet girl, you did bring us a light. What an interesting lampshade it has on it. Don't tell me you're going goth now, Vasilisa. Still, light is light, and I'm sure we can find a place for it where it won't ruin the aesthetic of the room.
But just as the stepmother finds the perfect spot for her new lamp, the eyes of the skull glow and burn into her. The stepsisters also seem to feel the combustive stare of the skull. Vasilisa's stepfamily begins to panic, trying to hide from the flesh-melting gaze. Only Vasilisa herself is left untouched, as the eyes of the skull grow brighter until they are white-hot, and the room is filled with the screams of... All at once, Vasilisa wakes up. It's morning. There lies the skull on the floor, its eyes dark and empty. And beside it, 3 neat piles of ash, all resting in a row.
Okay, I think I want to leave. Skull, do you want to come with me?
Oh, hey, you know what? Yeah, I could really use a nap. Any chance you could bury me in the backyard?
Oh, yes, it would be my honor.
Vasilisa carefully carries the skull out of the house, locking the door behind her, and as calmly as possible buries it in the ground.
Is it comfortable enough for you?
Oh, yeah, it's real nice. Hey, thanks a whole lot, Vasilisa. Couldn't have done it without you.
Oh, sure. I mean, thank you, I guess. Sleep well.
Vasilisa now finds herself in the awkward position of not wanting to return home, but also not having anywhere else to go until her father returns.
You know what? I survived Baba Yaga as a roommate. I'm sure there's got to be some non-magical old woman who lives alone and could really use the company. Hello! Oh, hey, it's a non-magical old woman who lives alone and could really use the company.
So, Vasilisa starts living with her neighbor, who for once doesn't demand she work for her keep. In fact, Vasilisa is so well treated, she actually gets bored and asks the old woman to bring her some flax for her to spin. Vasilisa works hard with the very good flax that the old woman brings her and makes a very fine thread, as thin and straight as hair. Now Vasilisa has a pile of excellent thread and no way to turn it into linen. It's time for the doll to jump in.
I'm gonna get you the nicest loom you've ever seen, but what I need is an old comb, an old shuttle, and a horse's mane.
This is very exciting for Vasilisa because it's the perfect excuse to go thrifting. She brings home the supplies, gives them to her doll, and by morning she has a beautiful little loom to make linen. Vasilisa works all winter, and by spring she has a pile of the finest linen ever seen. With nothing better to do with it, Vasilisa gives it to the old woman to sell. But this old woman has higher ambitions for Vasilisa and sees the potential for a happy ending here.
Vasilisa, this linen is so fine, it's only fit for the Tsar. I must take it to him myself.
How are you gonna get in to see him? What, you're gonna wander around the palace grounds until he sees you and lets you in?
That's an excellent idea, Vasilisa. I'll go right now.
Hard cut to the palace where the Tsar and his servant are playing a rousing game of I Spy.
Sire, I spy with my little eye an old woman wandering around in a circle outside.
That's not a color, you can't... Oh, I see. There is an old woman wandering around outside, and she's holding the finest linen I've ever seen.
She's also fogging up the window.
Bring her to me at once.
Once she is brought, the old woman presents the beautiful fabric to the Tsar. He is delighted and sends the old woman home with gifts in return. The Tsar charges his tailors with turning the fine linen into fine shirts. They can cut out the pattern just fine, but there's no one in the royal household who can sew the shirts on account of the linen being so darn fine.
Bring that old woman back to me. Surely if she wove the fabric, she can sew it too.
But of course, once summoned, the old woman informs him that it was the young woman living with her who had created the beautiful linen. So the Tsar sends the old woman home with the cut-out shirt pieces for Vasilisa to sew. Vasilisa gets down to it and works non-stop until the shirts are finished.
Do you want to come with me to deliver them? Nah, I'm good.
I'm sure the Tsar would like to meet you.
No, I think I'll just stay home and put on a pretty dress and sit by the window, just in case someone comes by with a shoe for me to try on, you know.
No, I don't. But suit yourself.
As soon as the old woman leaves for the palace, Vasilisa does as she said she would. She puts on her best dress, sits at the window, and even opens it for good measure. And wouldn't you know it, just a little while later, here comes the old woman with the Tsar's servant, loudly announcing,
The Tsar requests your presence at the palace. He wishes to present you with a reward.
Took you long enough. Let's go.
At the palace, the Tsar takes one look at Vasilisa and, you guessed it, falls in love at first sight. And they marry the very same day. For the rest of her life, Vasilisa keeps her doll safely in her pocket, and they live happily ever after.
Oh, hey guys, what's up? Dad? Yeah, hey, hi honey. I was just back at the house. No one was there, and there was just like 3 little piles of ashes. Do you know anything about that? Whoa, Dad, that was a long business trip.
The end. Well, that was quite the journey, eh? There's plenty to unpack and a lot to tick off our Cinderella bingo cards. But Vasilisa definitely has things that make her stand out among her rags to riches peers. Because for most Cinderella stories, the appeal is in the escapism, right? To vicariously live the dream of starting with nothing and making it all the way to the top. And certainly, Vasilisa has the same trajectory, but there is more going on here. Right off the bat, we have an unusual figure in Vasilisa's doll. It is a gift from Vasilisa's mother and comes with clear instructions, which makes it fit nicely into the magical helper role. It's not far from what we saw with the mother tree in Grimm's and the henwife in Fair, Brown and Trembling, but as I dug deeper into the significance of this doll, I fell down a bit of a rabbit hole. See, handmade rag dolls have a long history in Slavic cultures. They could be used in religious rituals, given as gifts, symbolizing things like fertility or health, depending on what it's made of, and of course, can also just be a toy. Vasilisa's story doesn't describe the doll specifically, and I mostly made up the design I used in my illustrations, but during my time exploring the ragdoll iceberg, I came across a delightful video by Natalia Chabanyuk, I think I'm saying that right, on how to make a Ukrainian ragdoll called the Motanka. And after learning more about Motanka dolls, it seems to fit very nicely into the story. Plus it looked fun, so of course I had to make one. The name Motanka comes from the word meaning to wind, because these dolls are made by winding string and tying knots. There is no stitching and as little cutting as possible. It's made out of old fabric scraps, often from older family members, thread and ribbon, and various spices or herbs and grains to put in the doll, which will give it unique significance. In my doll, I'm using calendula flowers for healing, buckwheat for prosperity, lavender for comfort, rice for nourishment, and coins for wealth. Yes, I do always overstuff my burritos. Why do you ask? What makes each doll special is what the doll maker puts into it, and the process of making it. If you're really hardcore, there are even rules about when you can or can't make a doll, or in what direction or how many times you wind the string. In her video, Natalia talks about the importance of your mindset and thoughts as you make your doll, because the belief is that you are pouring whatever is in your heart and mind into the doll as you make it. So you can make a doll that will be a positive symbol, but you can also make a doll filled with negative thoughts and emotions, and so then you can burn it to release that negativity. This is like legit folk magic tradition. A Motanka doll doesn't have facial features because that would make it vulnerable to evil spirits. Instead, it has a cross, which has multiple possible meanings, including the 4 cardinal directions, the 4 seasons, and even a connection to the spiritual world. The doll I made is pretty simple, but they can be much more intricate and ornate, with embroidery and florals. But no matter what it is made out of, a Motanka doll stands as a protector and provider for the family and can be given as a gift to celebrate a wedding or a birth or any significant event. With all this background, it is clear how meaningful Vasilisa's doll is to her. We can suppose that Vasilisa's mother made her doll for her daughter with fabric and thread from other projects, maybe even fabric from older generations. It was made to protect and comfort Vasilisa, not to mention help her with her chores. In fact, there is a style of Motanka doll called I'm gonna butcher this, Disiterushka. It's fun to say even if I'm doing it wrong. Anyway, it's a doll that has 10 arms and is meant to help with the household chores, specifically. I'm kind of glad I didn't know about this one before designing the doll, though. That would be a lot of arms to draw. And here is my finished Motanka doll, and I highly recommend you go check out Natalia's workshop video. It's really interesting, even if you don't end up making a doll, and she has such a nice voice, it's practically ASMR, I swear. Now we know what makes this doll so special, and in this story, the doll is clearly magical, literally doing Vasilisa's chores for her. I think it's significant to note that when Vasilisa does chores for Baba Yaga, the doll does everything but make dinner, leaving that to Vasilisa, whereas at home, the doll is able to do all the work by itself. I think this shows us two things. Baba Yaga is asking much more of Vasilisa than her stepmother was, and Vasilisa is more capable now and ready to take on some responsibility. Note that the doll does the ridiculously hard tasks, while Vasilisa does the much more normal domestic task of making dinner. Then compare that to when Vasilisa is living with the kind old woman. Vasilisa chooses her tasks, and the doll only helps to get her the supplies she needs to complete them. The doll is working like a transitional helper. She helps Vasilisa when her responsibilities are unreasonable, but makes sure that Vasilisa still takes on some tasks and doesn't become lazy. So rather than giving Vasilisa a one-time opportunity to meet her future husband like in other Cinderella stories, the doll is actively getting Vasilisa ready for a domestic life and keeping her from getting eaten by a certain old woman in a house with chicken legs. As I mentioned before, you never know what you're gonna get with Baba Yaga in any given story. And in this case, we get the good, the bad, and the ugly.
What did you say
you're gorgeous,
about
babe.
me?
You're glowing.
Oh,
Did you do
whatever. You're not
something
even
with your
worth
hair?
it. I'm out of here.
Baba Yaga, come at night, little children sleepy tight.
We also get quite a few lore drops about Baba Yaga that are unique to this story, like the whole Invisible Servants episode doesn't show up in any of her other stories. The riders Vasilisa sees in the woods are seen in other stories, but there seems to be more emphasis on them in this story. In his book, titled Baba Yaga, Andreas Johns suggests that this means those details were pulled from other sources or just made up by the editor. There's no way to know for sure. Regardless, in this story, according to Johns, Baba Yaga plays the part of the threatening tester. Far from being your typical fairy godmother stand-in, Baba Yaga serves as a challenger for Vasilisa, slowing down her social ascension. But this detour is part of what makes this story about coming of age and taking on more responsibility. It is also why it's debatable whether the beautiful Vasilisa is a Cinderella story at all. Because as much as it has in common with the Cinderella story arc, it also shares elements with another folktale subtype called the kind and unkind girls. In this type of story, a stepmother sends her stepdaughter to a tester, who gives the girl tasks to complete. Through acts of kindness and helpfulness, the girl is able to complete all the tasks and returns to her stepmother with riches and usually gets married. When the stepmother sends her own daughter to the tester, she fails all the tasks because she is unkind and lazy. Best case scenario, the unkind girl is sent home with a punishment and doesn't get married. Worst case, she straight up dies. So, you're probably most familiar with Charles Perrault's version. In it, the kind girl gets rewarded with flowers and gems falling from her mouth when she speaks, and the unkind girl is punished with snakes and vipers falling from her mouth when she speaks. There are many ways to interpret both the tests and the tester in these kinds of stories. To me, I think it's pretty clearly a morality play, in the style of Goofus and Gallant. Highlights Magazine, anyone? Anyone? Bueller? No? Okay. Do your chores without complaining and you will succeed. Be rude and lazy and you won't. But the nature of the tester can tell us more about what is at stake here. In these stories, the tester is often not cruel or demanding, simply rewards good behavior and punishes bad behavior. While Baba Yaga can be a neutral character, for the most part, she is the boogeyman in her stories, a scare tactic to make sure the youths stay in line. So it's safe to say Vasilisa should not be expecting a reward. Rather, the deal is, do your chores or you're toast. Literally. In fact, I think it's safe to say that Baba Yaga was just gonna keep giving Vasilisa tasks until she failed and Baba Yaga could eat her. The fact that she asks Vasilisa how she's able to complete the impossible tasks shows that she has been trying to set Vasilisa up for failure this whole time. And then her reaction when Vasilisa tells her about her mother's blessing, aka this doll that we have established is full of symbolism and meant to protect Vasilisa from evil like Baba Yaga, shows that it wasn't the completion of the tasks that saved Vasilisa, but rather her mother's foresight in giving her this powerful amulet doll. The reason I'm comparing Vasilisa to the kind and unkind girl story is because, despite their similarities, I think their differences indicate a more nuanced moral for Vasilisa. If the lesson was as simple as do your chores, Vasilisa would have been leaving Baba Yaga's house after the first day of completing the tasks. But escaping Baba Yaga uneaten takes more than that. It takes the courage and honestly recklessness to ask her questions, try to understand her and her power, and then ultimately it takes the help and guidance of those who have come before and provided the tools for success. And of course, it was Vasilisa's adventure with Baba Yaga that gives her the power to get rid of her stepfamily, allowing her to move in with her neighbor and ultimately marry the Tsar. So, while on some level this is a morality story meant to teach young women how to take on their proper role, which at the time was getting married and taking care of the home, I also think it reflects a lot of the challenges of growing up for anyone, even today. Feeling overwhelmed by new responsibilities, the injustice of being tested in tasks you are totally unprepared for, feeling like every situation is life or death, even while you're still just trying to figure out how the world works. And ain't that just adulthood in a nutshell? Thank you for joining me on this trip into the Cinderverse. Until next time, remember, if you're feeling anxious, eat your dinner, say your prayers, and go to bed. The morning is wiser than the evening. Thank you for watching! Despite how long this one took me, I am still very passionate about this Cinderverse project, so be sure to send me any versions of Cinderella you would like to see me talk about. I do still have a Patreon if you're interested, and all my sources, including the Motanka doll video that I followed to make my own doll, are all in the description. Okay, bye!